an ultimate global podcast. Hello, and welcome to our special weekly podcast on trending international and social affairs. You're listening to Saurabh Kora and George Mavros from Sydney.
So, welcome to another exciting episode of Ultimate Global Podcast. And I'm so excited to have another special guest in this special series of CEOs, founders, and co-founders, which we have been doing that for around 3 weeks now. We started off with the CEO of LMS 365, Rasmus Host, and after that, we have been inviting a couple of other CEOs and founders and co-founders. Have been listening to their interesting stories. And in continuation to that, we have got another exciting guest tonight. His name is Pratik. He's the founder of Webzoly and Testlify. Welcome to this episode, Pratik.
Thanks for having me, Saurav. It's really a pleasure to be on the show, and I hope this show inspires all of the hustling entrepreneurs across the globe. So thank you so much for this initiative, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Pratik. Would you like to tell briefly about what Testlify is all about and what Webzoly is all about?
As an hustling entrepreneur, my journey, like when I was working full time in a company, I was hustling on the side as a freelancer. Because, I didn't have so much capital to start a business and leave my job because I have to pay my bills, right? That's all, like most of us, how we start. Parallelly after 2-3 years into freelancing, I was making more money than my job, and then finally I decided to quit. Now, that's where I founded Webzoly, and I hired first employee, then second employee, third employee. That's where Webzoly was founded. Webzoly started as an agency for digital marketing. And now it's actually an outsourcing company which helps companies hire global talent in any domain. So basically, companies across the globe can hire people from India, from Philippines, from mostly developing countries, at least at 50% discounted rates, which saves money for the company and creates job opportunities in the developing countries. And that's what we are doing in Webzoly. In regards to Testlify, so Testlify is a HR tech platform. It's a talent assessment tool which helps HR predict almost who to hire. Now, when I say it's like kind of having a superpower and knowing whether this candidate would be good for the organization or not, because current hiring process looks like you have a guesswork. Okay, most of the time we are not actually evaluating candidate based on data. We are evaluating based on our emotions, and this is what we want to change. And on top of it, HR has been spending a lot of time. Let's say there is one open position, and there is 200 applicants. Okay, so screening them at scale is really challenging. So Testlify helps them automate this process, saving them almost 75% to 80% of the time. So this is what we do at Testlify.
Very interesting concept, both of them. And I'm sure that you must have done a lot of ideation, a lot of research before coming up with this idea. How much research and ideation was there in Pratik? Because
So
we also have to describe about the experiences, not only about when we became successful, but the struggles and the failures that we have gone through, because that is what will inspire a lot of other young entrepreneurs.
So I'll explain you how this all started, right? So because I'm into hiring a lot of people for other companies, I have to interview a lot of people. And most of my calendar is interviews every day. It's kind of a life of an HR. It was 2 years ago. Now I have people doing it for me, but it was tedious process screening them, hiring them. So it was a big pain point. And again, turned out like this guy, let's say who I hired, he actually was not honest on his resumes, and the skill he said he knows, which he doesn't. Then I have complaints from the companies that hired him, and the quality of hire was missing. So how do you solve these problems, right? So again, Testlify was born because of this. We created this tool to help ourselves first, and then eventually it converted into better product which we gave to other companies to test, and now it's like fully established product which can help all of the companies which pain points we were having. It's kind of similar for everyone, right? So I think as an entrepreneur, it's important to solve the problem around you, and automatically you will find it relatable for other companies who have the same challenges.
Yep. And I think one of the important elements that we are also discussing about in this particular episode is building a strong personal brand as a founder. I've really found that a lot of founders, a lot of CEOs who have also focused on building a strong personal brand for themselves and building strong relationships with other people are kind of succeeding more than others. I'm not saying the others are not succeeding, but they're succeeding more than others because they have the ability to build relationships, build networks. What do you have to say in that regard, Pratik, when it comes to building a strong personal brand? We know that you've got a very strong following on LinkedIn of more than 178,000 followers. So it's good to take your idea on that.
So there's one simple aspect about business, right? Why do we work together in the business? There's one aspect. It's trust. Okay, so we are speaking here right now. You invited me because you somehow trust my ability to deliver value to your audience, right? So we kind of have a business transaction here. There's a trust here in both ends. That's why I'm showing up, you are showing up, and we are doing this. Similarly, like in business, when client is actually coming to buy from you, they need to trust you, whether you are doing the things that you say that you're doing, and whether you can be trusted or not. Now, how do you measure the trust, right? So in order for us to build that brand, so like companies like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, or bigger companies who invested millions of dollars in marketing just to have that branding in your mind. Now you blindly, when you see Coca-Cola or something else, I'm not promoting them, just giving an example that how strong brand can impact buying decisions. So company brand versus personal brand is no different. And when you have stronger personal brand, whatever you do, once you have that relationship with the audience, you build this product, people will buy. If you build another product, people will buy. And that's the power of personal branding. And personal branding is not done specifically just to sell your products. I think it's more of a choice, and also it's kind of for me personally, I took this challenge. I took 1000 days challenge to build this personal brand, because to do something you require that consistency. But I specifically did because I wanted to be more connected in Israel. Okay, so Israel is a place, not, it was not that popular 4 or 5 years ago on for LinkedIn. So I thought LinkedIn is a place to connect with all of the entrepreneurs across the globe, where I can build partnerships, meet new people. And it turned out to work in my favor, and automatically it was a personal brand I didn't even knew that I was investing in. So yeah, that's how it goes.
Is there a relation between personal brand and full marketing strategies? Because now it's not an era where you can really push the things on to your customers. It's all about becoming an expert and building a strong personal brand that customers want to come to you and ask, what are you doing? And I would love to know more about your product, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. I'll explain you a bit more about customer acquisition strategies using personal brand. Like once you have that personal brand, people want to know what you're doing. Like, people follow you because you do certain things, which inspires them in a way. uh, this is the only key thing that people follow, right? You are somehow educating them, inspiring them, or adding value to their newsfeed, right? Now, when you do, these buying decisions are made based on nurturing, okay? So you have that email list or you have that following. How do you nurture them? You need to have multiple touch points before they even convert to a lead, right? When you consistently post about certain things, eventually they will, like, see that you are doing XYZ, and whenever there is a need of that product, you will be on the top of the head while considering making buying decision. So this is where, like, I think personal brand can come very handy. It's exactly similar like you have an email list, right? And social media marketing is like something that every entrepreneur or founder should use, because it's like, I would say hyper growth strategy, not just growth strategy for your company.
Absolutely true, Pratik. I think it's not only for founders and co-founders, but I feel that individuals in general, people like me who are in sales or who are sitting at the front end of the business, if they start building a good personal brand, people would love to come to them. Customers would love to come to them. But anyways, I would love to move forward to another question, which is, what have been your biggest learnings as a CEO and a founder? What do you think you have learned the most during your journey in the last 2 or 3 years?
So, you know what I've learned from my masters, I would say, or mentors, uh, that one thing worked very well for every entrepreneur or succeeding entrepreneur. It's getting things done. Okay. I was actually, like, we postponed yesterday because I was out in the field for some meetings, and today I came back early morning and slept at like almost 4:35, and I woke up and showed I want to finish this task I have on my plate, right? uh, Getting things done is very important. Procrastination, like, sometimes, like, we'll do this tomorrow, is not something for succeeding entrepreneurs. They get things out of their way, and they're kind of very organized, okay? Like, and when I say, like, most of the entrepreneurs, I have like network of people that I see that who are succeeded already, and I'm part of that, right? So I see what works for everyone. So what is number one key here? It's discipline, okay? When I say discipline in, like, organizing yourself, getting that done, okay, and consistently, like, putting that efforts in terms of growing. Because let's say you show up, like, you want to build personal brand for yourself and also help that help grow your company. You have to post consistently on LinkedIn, right? Number one aspect. If you don't show up one day, that means you're not disciplined, and eventually, like, or your audience will also not be interested in actually following you because you're not consistently adding value. So these are like the key things. It's simple, we all know this, but we don't follow it, and that's the difference between like achievers and non-achievers.
Yeah, I think you mentioned about an exciting point, having mentors in life. I really believe in having mentors in life as well. And I believe that, especially when you are young, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, or even before that, you should definitely have mentors who are more experienced than you, at least 10 to 20 years older than you, because they have more experience and wisdom. They have already done those mistakes, and you can learn from their mistakes and try to implement in your lives. How do you see that getting used in your businesses, and while you were coming up with this idea?
So, okay, you cannot. I still am not, like, I can say that I am an expert in anything. Okay, and as soon as you feel that you're an expert, you're done. You need to constantly improve yourself, right? Even though, like, I'm successful, but I still, like, spend my 15-20 days listening to something which is more adding value to my life, kind of helping me grow and learn some things which I don't know. I love to follow a couple of YouTube channels which actually creates that inspirational mode for me when I start my day. So 5 minutes of that video can actually make your day. So constant learning from people who you feel they are inspiring is important. uh, and you don't have to go anywhere else, like for me, when I was growing up, my first mentor was my father, because my father is a businessman, and uh, the lessons I learned from him was 40-50 years of experience in the field. So he taught me some things which I implemented and still working for me. So any business you do, so when I said, like, to build that trust, it's something that my father taught me, right? And like, nowadays you see that free trial on that SaaS product. This is one of the key elements of, like, building that trust for your brand, like you letting user use your product for free, so he or she can actually see that it's working for them. So building that trust is important. Yeah. So having mentors are a mentor is super important. um, I would like to add one more thing here. So when I was working in a job, most of my bosses that I worked with have impacted my life significantly. So uh, I would say that when you're working for someone, make sure, like, no matter how big or smaller the company is, but the person you're working with is smarter than you and inspires you. It's very important.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that part. Another thing that we really want to discuss in this podcast with you is to kind of inspire those people who might be thinking of starting something of their own, but they are still hesitant, or they started something of their own, but they failed and they don't want to try it again. So, how can those kind of people overcome failure to build something of their own and continue that persistent efforts of really building your own venture in the coming years?
So this was not, like, both of the startups that I have, this was not my first attempt. I failed before I actually founded this successful companies. So failure is like part of the journey. Like, fear of failure is not a good thing. I would say fears are part of the success journey, and if you don't have failures, you won't actually be there successful. So be proud that you have failed. So that's why I say, like, when you listen to people who are, like, experienced in the field, you don't
Yep,
make those mistakes they have made. So you are, like, ahead of, like, that curve. But again, there's one important aspect that people, like, hesitant to take is action.
yep,
Consistent action is required. Like, any entrepreneur you will see around you, they have failed, but they have not stopped, and that what makes them different from other people. So failing is good, but stopping is bad. Okay. Don't stop. Even though if you fail, try to optimize. Like, every marketing campaigns that you do is not successful. It's trial and error, right? And you keep on trying to reach that audience. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed, but it's something that works, you go double down. Okay, so similarly in life, you'll get chances when you hit that home run, but you have to consistently keep moving towards your goal. Now, let's say if you want to start a business, okay, and you're struggling, just think about the end goal that you're going to achieve, because in job you're not going to make that kind of money. Okay, you will have a living, but you will not have the freedom that you're looking for. So having that vision consistently drives you. Okay. This was like, when I was starting, I knew that Job will make me X amount of money in a year. And even though I work for 10 years, I will grow from 100K to 250K maximum a year. Okay. That is like a cap. You cannot go beyond that. Maybe I become a CEO, like, but it's 0.01% chances of a company, like as an employee, you become a CEO. But still you will be on salary. It's not your own, right? So you won't be making that wealth. You'll be making a living. So having that business is important. So how badly you need that thing drives you. So think about, like, you are in a water and you want to breathe badly. So how you will pull down someone else to do whatever it takes to come up, right? Similarly, you should have that kind of passion to actually do something for your business, and actually that will make you successful.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Again, moving on to our another interesting question for this evening is this fact that what's the one important thing that really motivated you to start your business? For some people, it can be the vision, it can be the idea itself, or it can be the purpose for which they are working. Some of them say that because of it, we are able to create some sort of social impact. And of course, money comes along the way. What was the motivation for you to start your business?
So honestly, I'm like from Gujarati family in India, okay, and we are surrounded by ideas of being a businessman from very early age, okay. Even my family, my father, my uncle, most of them were into like business, okay. They preferred, like, working for themselves rather than working for someone else. That was the mindset that I grew up in. And my first business, I started at like 12. I in Diwali festival, I, like, opened a firecracker shop. I was very young. So that was the kind of mindset. So for me, like, being an entrepreneur is not like, something uh, that I wanted to become. It's something that was in my blood, I would say. I love, like, I feel this is like a game, okay? And when you play it as a game, it is exciting. You find out ways how you can actually build your empire, like playing a Monopoly, right? So it's similar. Business is like a monopoly, like how you have competitors around you. How do you, like, work smarter, play smarter, and kind of like succeed? Again, like, some of the ideas that come into, like, startup world actually impact hundreds of thousands of people around the globe, uh, and automatically that drives your mission and your passion, and that can even like motivate you higher to work for your dream. But there's one important thing, like, I'm coming up with a brand inside here, okay, which will actually help people get jobs across the globe through the platform. Today we are in world of, like, digital era, and we just need laptop and internet connection to do our jobs, right? uh, Now in developing countries it's still, like, getting a job is challenging, and getting paid a decent salary is another issue. What if, like, there will be no borders and globalization, and you can work for anywhere in the world? You can, to some extent, today as a freelancer through some platforms, but still there is no sustainable full-time employment and a decent salary to go with it. So that has social cost to help people get more jobs. So this is what we are coming up with. You should stay tuned for this launch, and you'll hear soon on my new social news feed.
Well, thank you so much for giving that sneak peek to the audience and our listeners today. I know a lot of interesting freelancers because I've been hiring few of them for this podcast and how we have to run this podcast initially. So I know that they kind of work with certain employers, but it's not a sustainable business, as you just point out. It's more of a very casual employment, and they also look for some sort of permanent freelancing concepts. But
The freelancing part is amazing, but again, when you say it's not sustainable because it's like a geek, it's one time thing or hardly it gets recurring, okay, and you don't have a fixed amount of salary which will touch your bank account. So again, you are always under pressure until you have like certain set of clients, and there are a lot of people who don't know how to build that, right? So having that sustainable income is important, and that's why people across the globe prefer to do job because they have that fixed income. When I started my career, I wanted a fixed income because I can survive, and that's what majority of the people want to do.
absolutely. So, one last question for today, Pratik, in this podcast is related to this fact, which I've been asking almost to everyone in this series of CEOs and founders is what is the most important element for you while you're running your business? Is it the idea, strategy, or team?
It's people. uh, Ideas are cheaper, okay. So if you don't have an amazing team to help you reach that uh, reach that goal, I think it's not possible, because people make businesses, people can make your customers happy, people can make that product that you are visioning, people can actually run your business. So people are like the most I would say it's biggest priority for me to have an amazing people in my team, and I don't treat them as an employee because I feel they are equally part of my business, because when you have that kind of team, it automatically creates a positive impact, not just internally, but for the customers you're working with. So I would say maybe majority of the founders have been saying this to you as well. If you are asking these questions to them, you will know that. So number one aspect about people, finding those great talent is challenging. Okay. Uh, and most of the founders you will hear say that it's the most challenging part of the business to manage people. This is might also you will hear, but I would say yes. Building a great team can take you to that home run that you were looking for.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I've been hearing a mix of answers on this question. Of course, everyone considers that team is a very essential element, but they also consider that there needs to be a certain strategy which drives the team. There needs to be the idea needs to be strong enough that motivates the team to move in the right direction. So they kind of think that the three are important pillars, but of course, investing in teams is always important.
If you have a great team, you will optimize your product. There are a lot of products that Facebook was not a social app, okay. Instagram, didn't become Instagram because it was something else when they started. And because they had an amazing team, they innovated, right? So having that innovation came from people, and if you have the right people around you, you can actually grow faster, innovate faster, and sustain in the business. So I think it's very much important. And as a founder, when you grow in your entrepreneurial journey, you automatically build a network of amazing people. So whenever you're starting a new venture, you have that network to leverage, right? Go to that people for building my app. Go to this person to do this thing for me. So you trust those people because you have worked with them, you've experienced that, and you know that it will help your business. So yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Pratik. I really appreciate your time spending with us this evening and sharing so many useful insights on entrepreneurship, on personal brand, networking, team building, leadership. I'm sure that everyone has gained a lot of insights and they will learn a lot of new things when we share this episode on our channels. So stay tuned for that. And thank you again for coming to this episode.
Thank you, Saurav. It was a pleasure. Hope to have the next one soon.
This is an ultimate global podcast. Hello, and welcome to our special weekly podcast on trending international and social affairs. You're listening to Saurabh Kora and George Mavros from Sydney.